a symbol of Saturn and put it as a Jewish symbol. No one is more manipulated by the Rothschilds than the Jewish people of the world. No one. And here you have it in Christianity, the six-pointed star, an old ex-pope. And there it is between the pillars in the Mother Lodge of Freemasonry in Great Queen Street in London. It's all Saturn. They're all pissing in the same pot, all of them. Now, another ancient symbol of Saturn is the black cube, which you see all over the place. And this is interesting. We're going to get in now into how this matrix actually works. This is a permanent hexagon storm in the North Pole of Saturn. It's 2 Earths wide, and it's going all the time, and it rotates exactly in sync with Saturn's radio emissions. And in geometry, the hexagon is also the six-pointed star, and is also the cube. They are different expressions of the same energetic state. And so when you look at this is just a crop circle, but that's coincidental. You look at that crop circle, and it's a hexagon, a flat hexagon. Look at it again, but see it three-dimensionally, even though it's exactly the same picture, and it becomes a cube. They are different expressions of the same energetic state. So a hexagon is also a cube, is also a six-pointed star in geometry. And therefore, this cube, the Kaaba at Mecca, is a symbol of Saturn, and that's what they're worshipping, though they don't realize it, though the inner circle will. The black cube that Jewish people put on their third eye as part of their ritual is Saturn. And when they worship at Mecca, they even make them sit in concentric bloody circles. They'll have them going round next. And so when they are doing their circling of that symbol of Saturn, that which is that frequency can feed off it. This is the symbol of Saturn in terms of astrology. And this is the symbol of the Soviet Union, which was created by the Rothschilds. The symbol of Saturn, the hammer and the sickle. Sickle become relevant shortly. In fact, now, this is the ancient Greek god of Saturn called Kronos, the bearded man, holding the scythe. And Kronos is Father Time with the scythe and the beard. Chronos, chronology, time. It's where it comes from. It's going somewhere. Saturn is the god of space and time, so it is said. Crown comes from Kronos, the god of Saturn in ancient Greece. The Grim Reaper is Saturn with the scythe, the death cult, exactly. Then you've got El and the Elohim. El is the Jewish god or the Hebrew god of Saturn. I would say El and the Elohim in the biblical realm is Demiurge and the archons. And you have archangels, Michael, Gabriel. The El goes all over the place. We have elections where the pawns are elected to serve the elite. We have Israel. And that is the symbol of El, the black cube. It's Saturn. The black sun, the dark lord, the demiurge, Saturn, Kronos, Satan, they're all different ways of saying the same thing. Then you have the bearded man. The god is always kind of symbolized with a beard. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from Kronos, the bearded man who is the god of Saturn. You see beards in religions all over the flipping place. And the beard comes from this symbolism of Saturn with the luminous crescent. And so we come to probably the most famous bearded man, the Saturn pattern. Well, hello from Rome. This guy comes from Rome and the worship of Saturn. This is Fritz Springmeier, a very accomplished researcher into all this. Saturn is an important key to understanding the long heritage this conspiracy has back to antiquity. The city of Rome was originally known as Saturnia, or the city of Saturn. The Roman Catholic Church retains much of the Saturn worship, hence Heliopolis obelisk, in its ritual. Saturn also relates to Lucifer. In various occult dictionaries, Saturn is associated with evil. And Saturnalia, the 5th century Roman writer Theodosius said that Saturnalia, which was in Rome running up to our Christmas, was to mark the time when Saturn suddenly disappeared, which fits with that catastrophe story that Talbot talks about. So Saturnalia, that is the ruins of the temple of Saturn in Rome today, is actually Christmas. They decorated trees, they gave presents to each other, they used holly, same thing. And Santa is an anagram of Satan, Saturnalia, it's Kronos, the Saturn god. Now the bearded man is often used for Saturn. This is William Blake, who was a very deep thinker and knew a lot of inside information. And he painted this picture in 1794 called Ancient of Days. Ancient of Days is one of the phrases used in the Bible to describe God. And he depicts him as the architect. This is on the GE building in Rockefeller Plaza in New York. Again, the Ancient of Days, which I say is the demiurge Saturn, the architect. Freemasons call their God the great architect of the universe. The demiurge was called by the Gnostics the great architect of the universe. And in the Matrix, we had the architect creating the fake reality, the bearded man. And when you look at Saturn, the control system, it fits all the boxes of the society we live in. The religions, secret societies, and Satanism are worshipping Saturn. Astrologically, in other words, energetically, banking is astrologically ruled by Saturn. Politics and the institutions of state of all levels astrologically ruled by Saturn. Corporations astrologically ruled by Saturn. Law in the court system astrologically ruled by Saturn. Science astrologically ruled by Saturn. And it's amazing that the left side of the brain and the traits of it, and the Saturnian traits and the reptilian brain traits are remarkably the same. So all these different parts of the human institutions of society are Saturn's little helpers. The vast majority not knowing, the inner circle absolutely knowing. All this court symbolism and religious symbolism and the headgear in education, it's all Saturn. And you see it endlessly in corporate logos. Now, Jordan Maxwell has been talking about Saturn symbolism being all over society for decades and decades and decades and decades. My question is, why? Why is Saturn symbolism everywhere? Why is it worshipped by all these people? There has to be a reason. Well, I think this is the reason after what I put together. The Saturn-Moon matrix. The Gnostics said of the archons, they make something appear to happen that does not actually happen. They can induce virtual reality experience. And they say of the jinn in Islamic belief, manipulate humans by creating illusions. I went into this subway station in New York a few years ago and saw this painted on the floor, and I thought, that's extraordinary. You had the eye and the ring, Saturn, and over the world was this broadcast system, basically. And it started a train of perception and research. And again, we go back, do we live in a simulation? What is the archon illusion that's given us this fake reality compared with the one that was before? What is making us decode a different reality now to the one we did before? And it seems to me that Saturn is fundamentally part of this fake matrix that we call the world, and that part of what it does is act as a firewall from the original reality so we don't decode it, just like they do in China to stop people getting great tracts of the internet. Interestingly, the Gnostics say the outermost planetary sphere or archon of the matrix, was Saturn. Beyond that was Leviathan, a snake swallowing its own tail called the Ouroboros. Souls had to pass through this to reach paradise. There was another esoteric concept called the ring pass not. And this is a point where, while you remain in the illusion of dimensionally, even though it's exactly the same picture, and it becomes a cube, they are different expressions of the same energetic state. So a hexagon is also a cube, is also a six-pointed star in geometry. And therefore, this cube, the Kaaba at Mecca, is a symbol of Saturn, and that's what they're worshipping. It's a symbol of Saturn, and put it as a Jewish symbol. No one is more manipulated by the Rothschilds than the Jewish people of the world. No one. And here you have it in Christianity, the six-pointed star, an old ex-pope. And there it is, between the pillars, actually works. This is a permanent hexagon storm in the North Pole of Saturn. It's 2 Earths wide. And it's going all the time, and it rotates exactly in sync with Saturn's radio emissions. And in geometry, the hexagon is also the six-pointed star, and is also the cube. They are different expressions of the same energetic state. And so when you look at this is just a crop circle, but that's coincidental. You look at that crop circle, and it's a hexagon, a flat hexagon. Look at it again, but see it in the Mother Lodge of Freemasonry in Great Queen Street in London. It's all Saturn. They're all pissing in the same pot, all of them. Now, another ancient symbol of Saturn is the black cube, which you see all over the place. And this is interesting. We're going to get in now into how this matrix